I never thought one small lie, one moment of hesitation, could cost me everything. But here I am, 8 months pregnant, sitting alone in our apartment, watching the man I love slowly drift away. And the worst part? I can't even blame him. Because I'm the one who kept a secret. A secret that's now tearing us apart. It all started when someone from my past reached out, my old friend, as I called him. I never told my boyfriend the full story. I didn't say that this friend was actually my ex. I didn't think it mattered. We had ended things years ago, and I truly thought I'd moved on. My boyfriend and I were happy, deeply in love, and building a future together. What harm could a simple message from an old friend do? But things got complicated, fast. At first, it was just casual catching up, nothing serious. I didn't meet up with him, I didn't hide texts, but I also didn't explain the truth. And the longer I waited, the harder it became to come clean. I told myself it would only create unnecessary drama. I believed that if I ignored it, it would go away. Then I got pregnant. It should have been the happiest moment of our lives. And it was, for a while. We were planning everything together, baby names, nurseries, even silly things like what bedtime songs we'd sing. But I could feel the tension growing. He started asking questions about that old friend. His tone changed. His trust in me began to fade, and I knew deep down, he had every reason to doubt. When he finally found out the truth, not from me, but from someone else, everything fell apart. He didn't yell. He didn't accuse me of anything. He just went quiet. That silence hurt more than any argument ever could. Now, he's barely speaking to me, spending more nights away, and I overheard him telling his brother he's thinking about leaving, before the baby even comes. I know I made a mistake. But does one lie mean I deserve to lose everything? Can love survive when trust is broken this badly? Or have I already lost him for good, and I just don't know it yet? It wasn't supposed to be like this. When we first met, he made me feel like the safest person in the world. After a string of bad relationships, he was different, gentle, steady, and so sincere. He didn't play games, and he never made me guess where I stood. For the first time, I believed I had found someone who was actually ready to build something real. So when we moved in together and started planning for a future, I felt like all the pain from my past had finally led me somewhere good. But maybe that's exactly why I didn't want to tell him about my ex. That chapter of my life was messy and painful. It ended years ago, but it left scars. I thought if I mentioned him, even casually, it would open up questions I wasn't ready to answer. So when my ex reached out, I told myself it was nothing. A simple, "Hey, hope you're doing well." I didn't respond much. Just a short reply, something polite. But I didn't tell my boyfriend, and that was my first mistake. Over the next few weeks, my ex sent a few more messages. Friendly ones, nothing dramatic. But still, I didn't bring it up. I figured it would blow over, and honestly, I didn't even think he'd care, until I started noticing the way my boyfriend would glance at my phone when it buzzed. The way he suddenly seemed quieter when I said I was going out for a walk or meeting up with friends. I could feel the shift, but I convinced myself I was imagining it. Then one night, out of nowhere, my boyfriend asked me, "Hey, who's this old friend you keep mentioning?" My heart dropped. I stumbled over my words. I panicked and brushed it off, said it was someone I knew from back in college. Technically, that wasn't a lie. But it wasn't the truth either, and he knew it. I saw it in his eyes. From that moment on, something between us changed. He didn't say much, but his distance spoke volumes. He started working late more often, being less affectionate, almost like he was pulling away before I even realized what was happening. I tried to act normal, tried to hold on to the pieces of us, especially when I found out I was pregnant. But now, as I sit here surrounded by baby things we picked out together, I can't help but wonder, was this the moment I lost him for good? I kept thinking maybe he just needed time. Maybe he was just overwhelmed, new baby on the way, pressure at work, and now this little crack in our relationship he didn't know how to handle. I told myself he'd come around. But the silence between us started feeling louder than any fight we ever had. He wasn't asking questions anymore. He stopped checking in. He used to rub my belly every night before bed, talk to the baby like he already knew them. Now he just turns off the light without saying a word. What hurts the most is knowing he's not cold because he stopped caring. It's because he did care, so much that my lie broke something in him. And the longer it went on, the more I realized this wasn't just about the ex. It was about trust. About honesty. About feeling safe in a relationship that was supposed to be built on everything real. One night, I finally asked him, "Do you hate me?" He looked at me for a long time before saying, "No. I just don't know who you are anymore." That sentence hit harder than any anger he could have shown. I realized then how deep the damage went. He didn't see me the same way anymore, and I didn't know how to fix that. To make things worse, my ex didn't stay silent either. He kept popping up. A message here, a comment on an old photo there. Nothing dramatic, but enough that it stayed in the background like a shadow I couldn't shake. And somehow, my boyfriend found out even more. A friend of his mentioned seeing me and my ex talking at a cafe months ago, which did happen, by accident, but not the way it sounded. I swear, it wasn't anything like that. But to him, it looked like confirmation that I had been lying from the start. He started sleeping on the couch. He'd leave early, come home late, and avoid eye contact like it physically hurt him. And now, I keep catching him looking at the front door like he's just waiting for the right moment to walk out of it. I know I should have been honest from the beginning. But now, with our baby almost here, I can't help wondering, did I already ruin our future before it even began? Or is there still something left to fight for? The days started blurring together. Every moment felt like I was walking on glass, careful, cautious, terrified that one wrong move would shatter whatever little we had left. I could feel the baby kicking more often now, as if they could sense the tension hanging in the air. And every time I felt those tiny feet pressing against my belly, I wondered if they'd come into a home already broken. He barely looked at me anymore. And when he did, his eyes weren't angry, they were just tired. Like he'd been fighting with himself for so long, he didn't have the energy left to fight with me. But I was still fighting. For him. For us. I tried everything. I cooked his favorite meals, even though I could barely stand long enough in the kitchen. I left notes for him, little reminders of our good memories. But nothing reached him. Nothing made a dent. Then, one night, I found a packed bag by the front door. He hadn't said a word about leaving. But there it was, his duffel, the same one he used for weekend trips, sitting quietly like it had been waiting for the right moment. I froze. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely breathe. I wanted to ask him why, beg him to stay, but I couldn't even form the words. Later that night, when he thought I was asleep, I heard him on the phone. His voice was low, almost like he didn't want to admit what he was saying, even to himself. "I don't know if I can raise a child with someone I don't trust." My chest tightened. He didn't say my name, but he didn't have to. I knew. And that sentence hit me harder than anything else had. It wasn't just about leaving me. He was thinking about leaving our child too. That thought sent me spiraling. I started questioning everything. Was he really going to walk away? Could I blame him if he did? And worst of all, was there something he wasn't telling me? The way he'd been so withdrawn lately, the distance, the way he seemed to flinch when I reached out, it almost felt like I wasn't the only one hiding something. And that's when I saw it, his phone left open on the counter. One message at the top. One name I didn't recognize. My heart dropped again. Because maybe I wasn't the only one keeping secrets. I stared at his phone, the message glowing against the dark kitchen counter. My hands were trembling, heart racing as I leaned closer, reading the name again. Sophie. I didn't know a Sophie. He'd never mentioned anyone by that name. And the message? It was short, but it said everything. "Let me know if you still want to talk. I'm here. Still want to talk." Still? That meant this had been going on for a while. My throat went dry. I knew I shouldn't be snooping, but the silence in our home had already left me drowning in questions. And now, this just cracked open a new door I didn't know existed. Had he already started checking out emotionally? Was he leaning on someone else while I was sitting here thinking I was the only one hurting? I didn't sleep that night. I just laid there, pretending to be still while my mind spiraled. Every look, every strange moment over the last few months started replaying in my head with a new filter. The late-night phone calls he took in the other room. The sudden smiles at texts he never explained. The way he becomes so guarded, not just because he was upset, but like he was hiding something of his own. The next morning, I couldn't take it anymore. I asked, "Who's Sophie?" He froze. Completely. His eyes widened for a second, then he blinked and said, "Just a friend." I waited for him to say more, but he didn't. I asked again. "Since when?" He sighed, sat down slowly, rubbing his temples like he was preparing for a storm. That's when he said it. "We used to talk, before you and I met. We reconnected a few weeks ago." My stomach dropped. A few weeks ago. Right around the time he started slipping away from me. Right when things between us started falling apart. I asked him if it was anything more than that. His pause was just a second too long. No. Nothing happened. I just needed someone to talk to. Someone I didn't feel disappointed in. That sentence shattered me. Because it was honest. Brutally honest. And now, it wasn't just about my mistake. It wasn't just about the lie I told. Now we were both holding guilt. We were both breaking each other down in ways we never planned. The space between us wasn't just built from a single secret, it was now layered with things neither of us had the courage to say out loud. And then he dropped another bomb. He looked at me, his voice low, almost ashamed. "She doesn't live here anymore. She's moving back, for good. And she asked if we could meet in person." My chest tightened. My baby kicked again, like a reminder that time was running out. This wasn't just about us anymore. And now, someone from his past was stepping in, just like mine did. Except this time, he might actually go. I didn't stop him when he walked out that evening. He didn't say where he was going, but I didn't need to ask. I knew he was meeting her, Sophie. I sat on the couch in silence, hands resting on my belly, heart pounding in my ears. I had imagined this moment in so many different ways, but nothing prepared me for how empty the apartment felt without him in it. It was like the air had changed. An hour passed. Then 2. And still no message, no call. I kept telling myself to stay calm, but every minute made the knot in my chest tighter. I had accepted that I made a mistake. But now I was facing the truth that he had too. And maybe this was how it ended, not with yelling, not with drama, but with quiet choices that pulled us apart. Then, around midnight, I heard the door unlock. He stepped in, eyes red, face unreadable. He didn't speak at first. Just walked over slowly, sat down, and looked at me in a way he hadn't in weeks. Tired. Raw. Real. "I met with her," he said quietly. "We talked. A lot." My stomach clenched. I nodded, waiting. She said everything I wanted to hear. That I deserved better. That she still cared. But the entire time, all I could think about was you. He paused. I was so angry. I felt betrayed. But sitting across from her, I realized something. I'm not the same person I was when I knew her. I'm not that version of myself anymore. And I don't want to be. Tears were already running down my face. I came home because this is still my home. And because despite everything, I don't want to walk away from us. I reached for his hand, and for the first time in what felt like forever, he didn't pull away. We sat there, holding on, not to the perfect version of each other, but the truth. Flawed. Messy. human. But just when I thought the storm had passed, he said something I didn't see coming. "There's something else," he whispered. "While you were asleep a few nights ago, your ex texted again." I replied. I stared at him, frozen. "What did you say?" He looked at me, expression unreadable. I told him to meet me. And suddenly, I realized, this story wasn't over yet. I sat there, stunned. His words echoed in my head. He had met with my ex. The one thing I never expected him to do. I didn't know whether to feel scared, angry, or relieved. "Why would you do that?" I finally whispered. He looked at me calmly, like he'd already played this moment out in his head 100 times. "Because I needed to hear it from him. I needed to know what really happened, and if there was more than what you told me." My chest tightened. "And?" He took a breath. "He said exactly what you said. That you two talked briefly, that nothing happened. But more than that, he told me he still cared about you. Not in a romantic way. Just, that he regretted how things ended, and when he saw you happy, he wanted to make peace with his past too." A silence fell between us. "I didn't go there to fight," he continued. "I went there to decide if I could let it go. All of it. The lie, the distance, the doubts. I was waiting for a reason to leave, if I'm being honest. But I walked away with something else instead, perspective." He reached for my hand again. "We both made mistakes. We both let fear make decisions for us. But I don't want to raise our child on fear or resentment. I want them to grow up watching us show up, even when it's hard." That was the moment I knew, we were going to be okay. Not because we were perfect, but because we were choosing each other, again and again. And that choice meant everything. The days that followed were still hard, but different. We talked, really talked. We unpacked things slowly. No more hiding, no more assuming. He even suggested therapy, something I never thought he'd be open to. And when our baby finally arrived, we held them in our arms knowing we had already fought through the storm to be there together. Looking back now, I understand. Trust doesn't break in one moment, it cracks over time when honesty is avoided. But healing, like love, is a choice. And we chose to heal. So if you've ever made a mistake that felt unforgivable, or found yourself holding on to someone who's slipping away, remember this: what matters isn't just what broke you, it's what you do next. And sometimes, even after the biggest mistakes, love can still find a way back.